Here's Jeff Paterson. Happy New Year, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good. Feel like I should have had the funny Happy New Year's hat on, but I don't. We're a few days removed, so just nice to see you guys, the gang, back together again here.
Yeah.
Yes, you too.
Thanks for your help over the holidays.
Yes, indeed.
Jeff, we'll start with Kiefer Sherwood and this report from Elliot Friedman that the Canucks tendered him a contract offer last week. Your thoughts on that? Are we still talking about a trade candidate, or are they trying to fear of loss some of his suitors?
No, I have to. In my heart of hearts, I have to believe that this is all part of the negotiation game. And is it just trying to spark phone calls from others to find out what's going on around the National Hockey League? They can't. They simply cannot. This is their best trade chip. It's the best trade chip that this organization has had in years, outside of Quinn Hughes, I suppose. But in terms of pending UFAs, they get one opportunity at this. And the idea that they would reconsider even for a second when you already have Brock Besser and Connor Garland and Jake DeBrusk and even Linus Paterson all locked up well into their 30s, adding yet another player that qualifies in that category, and as part of a group that's won absolutely nothing together here, it just makes no sense. So I have to think that there's method to the madness here. What exactly it is, we know there's a lot of madness, both in the front office and with the fan base. I just... did they double back with the agent just to see if somehow something had changed? But even at that, even if they got Sherwood at a discount, it makes no sense. So I have to think that there was more layers to this than them simply presenting any kind of new offer to Kiefer Sherwood.
Yeah, Linus Karlsson signing two guys. I mean, that sort of negates this as well, or it's a proof of you trade these kinds of players that want to quadruple their money because you can get players like Linus Karlsson at a way cheaper freight. So to me, the signing of Linus Karlsson is even more of evidence that they're trading Kiefer Sherwood.
Yeah, I think there's something to that, but I also think too the timing of the Kiefer or this Linus Karlsson deal over the weekend was strange to me, in as much as this guy, for the first time in his National Hockey League career, got on a little bit of a heater, and that's the time you want to negotiate with him? Like, not that waiting 2 weeks was really going to change an awful lot, but it just felt like the height of the Linus Karlsson market, the money's a little more than I expected. Now, it's not an exorbitant sum, and with the cap going up, this isn't about, how can you squeeze Linus Karlsson under the cap? Linus Karlsson deserves a raise. The guy has done everything that this organization has asked him to do at both the AHL level and now in the National Hockey League. And I guess maybe there was a little bit of a fear if they didn't do a deal now. And we talked about this last week about, hey, maybe it's time to look at a contract extension for Linus Karlsson. Playing with Linus Paterson over the weekend, if that's something that's going to continue here, if they move out Kiefer Sherwood and at some point they move out Evander Kane, somebody's got to absorb those minutes. He had arbitration rights. And, if you take a 20-goal season to an arbitrator, you're going to get paid. Now, I don't think you would get paid a whole lot more just based on his body of work, but maybe the fear was that he would be armed with a little more ammunition should it progress to that. So again, it's a little bit more money on an annual basis than I anticipated. Like Max Sasson got $1 million a year for 2 years. He's got 8 goals. Linus Karlsson's up to 10, and Karlsson's had way better opportunities. Even if his ice time's low, he's had power play time that Sasson hasn't. And I kind of thought, like, just the way the Canucks have done business over the years, that first contract where they give a player term at any point, it's usually one of those show me deals. And so I sort of anticipated that it would be more in the neighborhood of 1.5 a season. So, again, it's a little more than I thought, but if he continues to produce, this sort of stands, I think, too, as a beacon of, like, who else? Like, I think up until this point, guys, like Zach McEwen has kind of been the guy that you point to, and you think the development system of the Vancouver Canucks is a player that they brought in, who you wondered if he was going to get to the next level. He did. He's still in the NHL. Linus Karlsson, though, I think maybe now goes to the top of the list of organizational development projects that they have taken from a guy that there were a bunch of questions about his foot speed and was there enough there, and here he is now into double digits as a goal scorer. And so there's some value in that, as you can hold him up to other players in the organization and say, follow the Linus Karlsson path, and you too can, get yourself paid.
Well, and Jeff, and we mentioned in the first segment, he gets an opportunity with Paterson and DeBrusk, and that line is fantastic against the Bruins on Saturday. Might he be the guy who unlocks both of those players?
Well,
who have had their struggles.
More. Why would you go away from it? I mean, just ridiculous possession numbers. I thought the Canucks, that was one of their better games in a while. They were the better team than the Boston Bruins and doing it on the back end of back-to-backs, but this team is just good enough to find ways to lose hockey games. That's what they do. And that was the case the other night. Like, both of their goals were lucky bounces. They don't have enough finishers. And I thought, wasn't it something? Not only the hometown kid that grew up in Yaletown, but Fraser Minton's a 21-year-old who scores a power play goal in the first period, and he's out there scoring the dagger in overtime. Like, this should be, that's Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, essentially. And, it was nice to see Liam Ogren get a shift in overtime. And in fact, he had the only Canucks shot in overtime. So I like that. But if, the white flag has been raised with the Quinn Hughes trade, then it is time to start to see some of these younger guys in different positions. And great that Filip Hronek plays 30 minutes a night, but that eats a lot of ice time and development time for other defensemen. So I don't know if in the big picture, Phil Hronek playing half the hockey game the way Quinn Hughes did ultimately is in the best interest of development of others. So I just thought that was an interesting contrast to see a young guy getting the opportunities and making the most of them for the Boston Bruins, while the Vancouver Canucks find yet another way to come up just a goal short.
And, of course, Minton was the proceeds of the Brandon Carlo trade that the Bruins made last year with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Evander Kane, and this is a delicate dance somewhat, Jeff, because if he does have trade value, I think the Canucks would like to maintain it between now and March, and yet push came to shove for Adam Foote on Saturday night, who benches Kane for the final 10 minutes. How did you see that play? How did you see that, and how do you see it playing out from here with Evander?
Well, probably long overdue in the big picture, but to your point, you're right. Like, if they have any hope of peddling this player on an expiring contract, then you don't want this to become any sort of regular routine. But another sort of egregious giveaway and back check. We've seen a bunch of those on the season. 9 games now without a goal? I think 3 in his last 21 or 22. So a ton of heat on Brock Besser for his lack of production, but Evander Kane has fallen right there into the trade. It's been a wildly underwhelming season for Evander Kane. I think everybody from the Canucks on down expected that there would be a little bit more on the offensive side. There would certainly be a little bit more on the pushback and the physical element that hasn't been there. And at some point, if you are true to the organizational word that you're rebuilding, retooling, hybrid form or not, you can't just look past Evander Kane half-assing it on a back check and sending the sort of message to these young guys that you want to develop into culture carriers for your organization and let them think that, hey, that's okay. If Kane can do it, I can and do it as well. So he doesn't play as much as he did in those first 20 games when his even strength ice time was off the charts. He has reduced the silly penalties that he has taken, but it's just he's treading water. I mean, he's out there, but nothing really is happening, good or bad. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Was this a one-off? Was this some sort of tipping point with the coach? The one thing without Marco Rossi and Connor Garland, like, people are still howling for Brock Besser to get the Jake DeBrusk treatment. They could take DeBrusk out last week when those other guys were healthy. Right now, they are strapped again. And so I don't think you're likely. I'm not taking Brock Besser out to put Arshdeep Bains in just to make a point at this stage. If they get some healthy bodies back and Brock is still struggling, then sure. And I also thought, like, at some point, I guess I figured that we might see the healthy scratch treatment come for Evander Kane as well. I'm in the camp, guys, that thinks it's going to be difficult to trade him. I just think with his history, the baggage, he's not going to be every team's cup of tea, obviously. He's got some trade protection, and he's been ineffective. Like, I just can't imagine that there are teams out there thinking that's the piece that we need for either a playoff run or a push to the playoffs. And so with all the factors that are sort of conspiring here, I think it's going to be a difficult. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I will be surprised. I won't be shocked, but I'll be surprised if they're able to move Evander Kane before the deadline.
I think a star-studded team, sort of like that Oilers team, that he walks into the room and he knows he's so far down the depth chart that he just behaves. I think that's a possibility, but that's a beggars can't be choosers scenario, and the Canucks would have to accept whatever is offered to them in that regard. They're not going to get anything close to what they could for Kiefer Sherwood. That's for sure. With regards to the scratches and such, we have to rewind to 5 years ago. So the last time the Canucks were in these sort of scenarios and question deployment a little bit, and Adam Foote wants to win and all that. But I mean, the fact that he's benched veterans shows that he's open to some roster manipulation here in the final half of the season. When does Jonathan Lekkerimäki come back? When is P.O. Joseph parked for Elias Paterson to work on his stuff on a nightly basis? When do those benchings end, I guess? And, when do we just see the youth carry the day consistently, night after night?
Yeah, and yet I saw on the team-produced video of the guys getting on the plane, both Fiip Chytil and Teddy Blueger are on this road trip, and Fiip Chytil is working to a comeback here. I didn't think we would see that again this season. And yet Adam Foote said a week ago that a couple of weeks and we might see Chytil in the lineup. And Teddy Blueger on this road trip would suggest that he's going to at least skate with the team, will continue to rehab. And so instead of young guys, it looks like they may be, dropping injured veterans back into this lineup. Now, Lekkerimäki's a curious case, and I saw Steve Ewan had a piece with sort of a cryptic comment from somebody in the Canucks organization. Lekkerimäki hasn't played in Abbotsford since December the 20th, and so he's injured again, and there isn't much clarity on the situation there. So I hope it's nothing serious because, over the second half, he's one of those guys, along with Bouillon and Willander and JPat, Ogren. You would think that you would want to see Lekkerimäki back in the National Hockey League and see if he can't be a little more productive than some of the others that are around here. So it's such a collection of misfits right now. We're all waiting for Nils Höglander to take that step, and it just hasn't happened for him. And you'd want him to be pushing Evander Kane for ice time and opportunity, but it's not there. When Marco Rossi has played, he hasn't done an awful lot in his limited time with the Vancouver Canucks. So it feels like on a close to last place team that, opportunities should abound for a lot of these guys, but you got to grab them. And nobody really stepping forward. Ogren got off to a decent start, but his production has slowed as well. So on the JPat front, I think that there have been some internal concerns with his performance of late, and that's why they sat him down here recently, but he got back in the lineup on Saturday. And you're right. Perfect world, even through his struggles in a sophomore season, I want to see him play, and I want to see him playing and getting opportunities over P.O. Joseph, but we're at a point now where, as a left side guy, Hronek's playing 30 minutes and Marcus Paterson's getting 20-some. JPat's getting 10 minutes of ice time. And you know what? I do wonder if at some point, could you get him back to Abbotsford and ramp up the ice time again? If this season's going nowhere, you can talk about on-the-job development in the National Hockey League, but if it's only 10 minutes a game, might he at some point benefit from going down to Abbotsford and being asked to play a starring role there and sort of build his game and his confidence back up?
Speaking of cryptic, and we mentioned this in the first block as well, Jeff, but in reporting that Marco Rossi and Connor Garland are going to miss some time, Adam Foote said this, and we've got the visual for those of you on visual platforms, on Rossi. They're trying to stop something that if you don't take care of now could progress to something you don't want it to be, and so on and so on. You have any sense of what's ailing Marco Rossi?
Originally, I thought it was a blocked shot, that he blocked a shot in the Philadelphia game and didn't play the final 8 minutes that night, and we haven't seen him since. But then when I asked Adam Foote about it, and you see that quote there, that reads far more, and this is mere speculation, and trying to read between the many lines there, and that's all we're left to do. That sounds like a groin type of thing, that rest and rehab now, that if he were to try and gut it out and play through it, could really do some more significant damage. So again, I'm spitballing, but that's it feels like that kind of sort of soft tissue, whether it's midsection or groin or whatever, where if they're a point out and they need all hands on deck to make the playoff push, maybe you ask a guy to gut it out. But again, when you're 31st in the league and going nowhere, there is just no reason for anybody to put their body on the line here and risk longer-term injuries. So that seems like the prudent play. I know that they don't get the benefit of the doubt, and they probably don't deserve the benefit of the doubt with some of the medical situations of years gone by here. But I think right here and right now, resting Marco Rossi. The fact that Rossi went on IR and Connor Garland didn't, I asked Adam Foote if we could read into that in any way. He said no, that really they had to open up a roster spot to get Archie Baines back up here. But I would think that just by the nature of putting Rossi on IR as opposed to Garland, that leads me to believe that maybe Rossi is a little longer away from playing than Connor Garland is.
Before we get to the poll question, I have to ask you, though, based on that timeline and Fiip Chytil being on the trip, there is a world here, Jeff, where, let's say 3 weeks from now, Marco Rossi and Fiip Chytil are both in the Canucks lineup playing down the middle, and all of a sudden they look that much better. And for those that are hoping for the best odds for the first overall draft pick, I mean, that just it times out perfectly, doesn't it, for the Canucks to have a decent February, March and play their way to 22nd in the National Hockey League? Doesn't that just line up perfectly?
But Elias has plenty of time to get hurt between now and then. Like,
that is true. Everybody does. You're right. We're talking about a team made of glass.
Blueger has plenty of time for a setback between now and then.
Right, but I mean, I think we're missing the obvious in all of this, guys. A 6-game road trip, they're probably going to go 5-1, right? Because they're away from home.
Too. And, yes.
You're right, and I think somewhere in somebody's office with a whiteboard at Rogers Arena, there is a depth chart that has Elias Paterson, Marco Rossi, Fiip Chytil, and Teddy Blueger as the 4 centers. Now, whether we ever get to that point, these are the Canucks, the season, the injury bug, I'll believe it when I see it. But it also sort of begs the question, what about Aatu Räty? What about Max Sasson? Like, you can't have 6 centers in the lineup, or at least you can't have 6 guys playing center on a given night. Räty with the face-off utility, you'd think you would want that somewhere in your lineup, and Sasson's speed. Although I will say this about Max Sasson, that basically a half season. He hasn't played every single game, but I think he's at 38 games. He only has 2 assists. Now, I know he hasn't been blessed with the best finishers, but he did spend a lot of time with Linus Karlsson this season. And he's had Liam Ogren recently. Only 2 assists as a centerman in the National Hockey League kind of lends me to this thinking that we've suggested over the years that, at the NHL level, Max might be better served to be a winger. And maybe that makes the decision that much easier for them to slide him out to the wing. So in this season, it really is one of those things. I think Adam Foote just has to deal with the guys that he has in front of him. He can't think 2 weeks down the line about what might be, because twists and turns are likely to present themselves. But you're right. Like, the way you suggest that would be the strongest center ice lineup that they have had all season. And you look at the schedule here, these 6 in a row on the road, but then 8 at home, and home has been a disaster. But I keep thinking at some point they're due to get a bounce and a couple of wins along the way. I could see them picking up points here between now and the Olympic break. I know there are people that don't want to hear that, but I just think between better health and a reasonably soft schedule, although when you're 31st, what exactly is a soft schedule?
Exactly.
But the opportunity to pick up points is going to present itself, and ultimately we'll see if they can, or if, like the Boston game, they play well, you don't question the effort, but at the end of the night, they come up a goal short.
Well, Jeff, you and the RinkWide crew are going to be busy this week and over the next couple of weeks. It's Buffalo tomorrow, and the Sabres have been red hot. It's Detroit on Thursday. It's Toronto on Saturday. All of those are 4 p.m. starts for us. And Saturday, we're doing RinkWide from Greta.
We're taking the show on the road. We're going to do it live. We always do it live, but we are going to do it live on location this time. Yeah, so should be some fun. Done a lot of live on locations throughout the years of broadcasting, but we haven't taken RinkWide out on the road like that. So, watch party, Vancouver, Toronto, regardless where they are in the standings. It's usually an eventful night and should be some fun there. And so hopefully people will come on to Greta for the watch party and stick around. And, the playoff football will be on big screens along with hockey. So there's lots going on there. And through it all, we're going to do a little post-game live stream.
Looking forward to that. Come on down to Greta on Saturday. Thank you for this, Jeff. We'll catch up on Friday.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.